Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be making a quirky collaged bird and it's inspired by Tamara Laporte, Willowing, if you follow her on Instagram or all the things that she's on. So I'm starting in my Large Illusions journal, and this is a page that I've just been scribbling on some extra paint that I've had as I've been going along. So again, if you've been following this channel for a little while, I've been using more greens in my work, which is quite surprising because I really don't use green very often. So I've been ending up with lots of green pages that I've had to deal with. So to calm the green down a little bit, I'm going in with some tissue papers and gluing them down. So I've got the Tim Holtz Botanicals tissue paper at the top. The deli paper that you can see me laying down is stuff that I've drawn on myself just with a permanent marker, and that was an idea I got from Scrapwitch Lisa Oxley in her life book class. She sort of designs her own pages that she plays with. She did it on just normal paper. I decided that I wanted it more translucent and did it on deli paper, and that's worked really well. So now I'm just going in with some liquid acrylics. These are the liquid acrylics from Finnabar, and that's a turquoise colour, and you can see it's just gives a beautiful sheen to the page. This is the yellow, which goes out in a slightly baby blue colour, but when you spread it out you do get that yellow. Now obviously, because they are translucent colours, you can see the yellow goes over the blue and makes a green, which I was originally trying to get rid of, but I still ended up with it on my page, but it's just not as much as I had before. And you can see how translucent it is because you can still see that red popping through from behind. You can still see the images of the collage papers that are there as well. So now I'm just going in and adding some stenciling to the page. So using some different colours that I don't tend to use very often. I don't use greens very often. I don't use purples very often. So I have been trying to push myself to use different colour combinations. They don't all together work all the time, but I end up with interesting bits which I like. And that's what it's all about experimentation. So if I really don't like something, like I really don't like the middle of that page, I will cover over it, and that's how I ended up doing this bird in the end, because the middle of this page I really didn't like, so I wanted to cover it up with something. So that's, I suppose it's an intuitive way to work, or whatever, mindless way to work. Maybe I should think about what I'm doing a little bit more when I'm doing it, but that's how I tend to create. So because it was very busy and was getting very dark, I decided to add a little bit more white in. So I just added those little dots in. I've also been, as you know if you've been following this channel, playing a lot with my neon paints, and I've been doing this technique where I've been using my fingers and just scrubbing it on into different places, which I've been really loving because it ends up looking sort of really grungy, but you've got that beautiful pop of colour, and that now also just started making a little bit of sense to me. So I decided I want to sort of draw out a bit of a monstery type shape on this page with a big head and sort of body and the small legs, so sort of playing with proportions, but it didn't quite work for me. So you can see I'm sort of sketching out with a Stabilo oil pencil, and I'm using the white instead of black. I actually did stop the video there because one of my kids woke up and I had to go and deal with that. And I didn't like the shape I'd drawn out, so I just used a wet wipe over the top and wiped it away, and I started again when I was happy. And I decided I was going to do a bird because I had the botanicals in the background and it kind of tied in with what I was doing. So I'm not sure when this video is going up, but hopefully you've seen some of the kind of characters I've been creating recently, inspired by Wonder Strumpet, or Sarah Trump, if you've come across her. She does these beautiful sort of weird and wonderful creatures with large proportion eyes, offset, just looking a bit kooky and strange. The shape of the bird is just really simple, sort of ovals divided up by triangles, and the wings off to the side. And the bird itself was kind of inspired by some of the birds I've seen on Tamara Laporte or Willowing's page. Hers are much more detailed than mine. Mine's is just sort of getting out a sort of shape to play with. So, yeah, any shapes you can, but you can see the shapes I've sort of drawn in are really, really simple. The paints I'm going over the top of the collage with, just sort of painting the background, are Paper Artsy, the chalk fresco paint. And I was using those because I knew I wanted to put some colour pencil over the top of these. So these are really super matte, and they've got a great texture that you can use colour pencil over the top. So I wanted to have paint that I could see through. It was translucent enough that I could sort of see some of the collage in the background. She says putting on an opaque paint, but I could also colour over and add some detail too. So I decided I really didn't like the orange there, so I wanted to go in with some blue just to add a little bit of brightness to the page. And I'm just mixing two blue colours, I think it's Mermaid and Cerulean, to sort of get that happening. And I haven't really worried, I've sort of shading on the blue parts, but I haven't really worried about shading anywhere else because I knew I was going to go in and do something different with that. I'm also just going in with the lightest blue paint to paint in the eyes, again just to get some opacity underneath, because I do want my eyes to be white because I was going to draw those in. So I wanted to have a base that I could put the white paint over the top and make sure that it was totally opaque. So I do actually end up doing 1 or 2 layers over this just to make sure that it's white enough that you get a real pop on the page. Now, usually on this channel you'll see me use paint pens to do this, but I've found, particularly when I'm using colour pencils to colour in the eyes, the paint pens aren't as matte as some other acrylic paints, so it does it can chip off when I'm colouring with the colour pencils, or it doesn't have enough tooth for the colour pencils to sort of stick with. So if you're finding that bits and pieces are chipping off when you're doing it with colour pencils or are shading over the top of the colour pencils, it might be that your paint underneath is not matte enough. Decided I wanted some texture in the edge of the bird, and that's what I'm talking about, paint chipping off, by the way. You could see that little bit of paint came off, and I'll explain why that happened in a second. The middle of the bird, I decided I wanted some feathers. I wasn't sure how to draw them, so I actually just ended up using a net stencil, and I got that really cool pattern in the middle. So where that bit of paint chipped off, you'll notice there's the neon colour underneath it. And that's one of the things I was fighting against on this page. While I absolutely adore that pop of neon underneath and in my background, because it's a different makeup from the Paper Artsy acrylics, which are very, very matte, the neon paints are actually like a semi-gloss and very translucent and very slippy. So trying to put paint over the top of them and then colour in, it can actually move the paint away. So you just need to be aware that that might happen. I just went with it. It was frustrating at times, but I just went with it. You could repaint over it or do something with it, I'm sure, but in the end it's just like, oh well, it's just going to add to the bird. So I'm just using a mixture of colours. I'm using dark colours around the edges and then going in with a lighter colour to blend the colours together. I am by no means a colour pencil person. I've only just sort of really learnt how to use them and how to use them over acrylic paints, I suppose. The type of colour pencils you have are quite important. I don't know which ones are the best. These ones are Prismacolors. They work for what I'm doing. But again, I'm only new to this, so I'm sure there are much better pencils out there or do different things. Just don't use the ones you get from school, which is what I've been using and been really frustrated with, which is why I haven't been using colour pencils. I didn't actually realise there's a whole world out there of much better colour pencils than we give to our kids every day, which is really sad actually when you think about it. We should be encouraging our kids to do the best in their artwork and have the best materials to do that, because I'm sure, as you're well aware, that, you know, if you've got the proper tool to do the job, you're going to be much more successful. So, yeah, are we setting our kids up for failure by giving them the cheaper option? However, being a mum and seeing how kids use some stuff too, I understand why we do that as well. So it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. I'm just going in and colouring in my eyes, using some purpley and blue colours sort of to colour it, or use the colours that I'm using in the background to pick them up. A little bit of yellow in there as a bit of a highlight. And I've been really enjoying these, colouring these creatures. Please excuse my hair. Because I love the sort of contrast of a semi-realistic eye, and I use the word semi-realistic very, very loosely, with a very, very whimsical type creature. So just that contrast of the two. You've got this sort of almost human eye on an owl, and it just appeals to the quirky nature in me. So I really enjoy doing it. Now, this type of page in particular, I have sped this up a lot because I'm still learning with colour pencil. It takes me a little while to colour it all in, so this isn't as fast as just putting paint down a page with a stencil, but it was really, really relaxing to do. I had something playing on in the background that I was sort of tuning out with, and I could just go in and play around with different colours and see what I wanted to do. You can see I'm sort of adding some neon colours into the wings and onto the head just to add a little bit of extra detail. And you can see once you put the catch lights in the eyes, that makes a huge difference to them. And now I'm just going in with the scales and highlighting them with the white as well, just to add a little extra pop to the page. So once I kind of finished doing the owl, it's like, oh, what do I do now? So he needed to be grounded, so I decided I would put a branch underneath him, and I was going to use a stencil for a tree for him to sit on, but just didn't quite work for me, so I decided to be brave and draw it in myself. I grabbed my brown paint pen to draw it in and just made sure it was dry because I was going to put a little bit of shading over the top. And then I had my gold paint out and I thought, oh, that'd be cool for his I was going to call him his beak, his feet, his claws. So I went in with the gold paint, and I had some left over, and then I did something which I absolutely adored, which was putting these marks onto his body, and this just made such a difference to the entire piece. It just suddenly brought it to life and made it really, really interesting. The paint that I'm using is the golden interference bronze, and it's just like liquid gold. It's just amazing, and you can actually see on screen how metallic it is, and when you pick it up in person it's just beautiful. And as soon as I did that, you know, you go from liking a page and working on it thinking, oh yeah, this is okay, to oh my god, this is amazing, I love this page. And I love having those moments when you've, you know, sat there for an hour and you actually are really proud of something you've come up with in the end. So I did that, you know, I worked on that and I did that. So, and I think that's okay. Sometimes I think we beat ourselves up and, you know, say to ourselves we can't be proud of something we've done. But if we're not going to be proud of it, a lot of other people don't actually understand. If I gave that to other people sitting around, they'd just look at it and go, well, that's a weird looking bird. What have you got in the background? Whereas I know how much I put into that and how much love I put into that and how much fun I had making that. So I'm going to be really proud of it. So I'm using the Art by Marlene stickers. I was going to use the big tweet sticker that was there because I don't know what else I'm going to use that on, but it just didn't, it was a bit too big for that page. So I ended up going with one about colours because I loved all the colours in the background and how it all overlaid in the end. So colour makes life more beautiful was my final piece. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a go at doing this little birdie yourself or doing something similar. It was lots of fun to do. And until next time, bye for now.